Okay, good morning everybody and welcome to the third and final parallel session. My name is Kei Livingston and I'm here representing the Association of Teacher Education in Europe. It's an organisation that brings teacher educators from across European countries together, and it is a real opportunity for us to share with one another what is happening within the teacher education system. And it runs right from the beginning and initial stages of teacher education right through to working with teachers who are already in service and indeed school leaders. So it is really that sense of career-long professional learning. I'm also a professor in the University of Glasgow. I have a very interesting job there because my title is actually a chair of educational research, policy and practice. So what that means is I'm trying very hard to work with policymakers and practitioners across the country and across other countries to understand that relationship between research, policy, and then putting it into practice in our classrooms, as I say, in Scotland and beyond. So welcome to you all. I will be coming around all of the tables and trying to get to know some of you and listening into the conversations. And I'll hand over to my colleague from Lithuania.
Okay. Hello, my name is Aurimas Juozaitis. I'm from Pedagogical University, or now it's called Educologijos University, associate professor there. And also, but main of my job is freelance, and I'm doing trainings, facilitations, and working with various types of leaders from various sectors, and predominantly at the moment with educational sectors. And we'll work together with Kei. Well, you already know the procedure, and just shortly, of course, very quickly to mingle around the tables, introduce yourself, 5 minutes, and then we'll start the job, okay? Please.
If you know everybody around the table and you don't need to do the introductions, the task could be slightly different. So first task is, if you don't know anybody around the table, please do introduce yourselves. But if you have sat down at a table where you know one another, can you then just very quickly say perhaps one of the key things you got out of yesterday? And we'll just do this very quickly, so it'll just have to be a quick one word, almost a couple of words around the table.
Okay.
Okay, I think we'll keep this part very short because, as I say, I hope that most of you have got to know one another now. It's time to look at the final question that there has been set for you in this parallel session. It obviously relates to the last keynote address that we've just had. One of the things that you've heard throughout the whole conference is how we can promote understanding from school leaders' point of view of their own teachers and understanding their teachers as individuals and understanding the kinds of strengths and challenges that they have. Obviously, there is such an emphasis now on the personalisation of learning. How do we make sure that we understand the needs of the individual pupils that are in our schools, and really using evidence to drill right down and understand how do we move them forward in their learning, no matter where they are. And so the importance of really understanding the individual learning needs of pupils and ensuring that our teachers understand how to find out and assess individual pupils so that they can then make changes and adapt their teaching to move forward all of the pupils that are within their care. So the challenge that we heard this morning from our keynote speaker was very much about how do we ensure high quality learning and teaching, but at the same time, how do we make sure it really is equitable and that we don't just have systems that are there for a certain percentage of the young people, but actually our education system is there for everyone. And how do we make sure that we move everyone's learning forward? So the question this morning will be around that quality and equity, and I'll hand over to my colleague who will tell you the specific question.
Adding to what Kei already said, that we would like to ask you particularly to discuss the issue that this education, which should be qualitable and equitable, should be linked actually with labor work. In a sense that we are doing education not just for fun, but for nice life and better life, of course. And that's why the question is like that. How to develop leaders nationally and on European level in order to have equitable and high quality education which meets challenges of labor world. Already you are professional in developing those suggestions for EU Council. One sheet of paper, one idea, 30 minutes at least, but not so much more, because we are quite pressed in time. And then let's start. But firstly, we would encourage you to have minute or two just to reflect yourself individual, and afterwards to go into discussion. Okay?
Because what's saying about every 4 years changing the school So what is it?
That's a further idea.
Our thoughts, our ideas, perhaps some challenges. You know the process, that we will invite each of the tables to share with us what they have been working on. And if you feel that you have something the same as whatever has been produced, then we will group them together and we will keep going until we've got all of the ideas, and then we will vote at the end. And my colleague will take you through that process. So can I invite one of the tables to start? Would somebody like to? Good. Okay.
Sorry for my voice,
Attention, please.
but we just can't stand waiting until we can present our first idea. So, starting to think about the possible answer to this question, we realized that somehow we should, maybe you can turn, start from redefining of schooling and education. That education is for life, is just entire life. All our life should be education, but not education for labor market. So in some kind we question this question, we were looking answer for it, but just to be sure that we are ready to give our students possibility to create rules of labor market, not only to serve according to rules of labor market. We should prepare leaders for that.
Thank you very much. So the comment there was really emphasizing that education is for life. Education for learning, education for work, education for life. Did any of the other tables have a similar comment that we can group it together? Yes? Okay. Can you just tell us yours then?
So at our table we were discussing that there should be a holistic approach of development of persons' competencies for all sectors of education. The key competencies, what we now feel that there is lack of dialogue between different levels of education, secondary, higher education, VET, and so on. So, and we feel this lack not nationally, but also on European level. So there are like different kingdoms of secondary education, higher education, VET, but a person, there should be perspective and focus center at person, and higher education rector should talk to secondary education principal in order just to provide the best learning environment and best achievement for everyone.
Thank you. So that comment was about the coherence between the different parts of the education system. Yes, the table at the back, you feel it's similar?
We
New
have
one?
a similar.
Yours is similar?
Are you adding or separate?
We're adding at the moment.
Our group just want to add a little bit up for our colleagues' idea that we thought that it would be of use to develop a professional standard for school leaders on a national level. Firstly, to get approval from downwards going upwards. Let's say school boards, municipalities, then go to politics, national level, and then maybe European level. So develop a professional standard for school leaders on a national level at first. So I think it goes well, corresponds with our colleagues' idea.
But maybe it's slightly different. But together.
Okay, can I ask, can we just make sure that we're still moving on the first one? So the first one was about redefining education and really trying to understand that it's education for life, education for learning, education for work. Have we any more on that one before we move on?
We came up with an idea of permanent training designed directly for school leaders, that is, developing their communication skills, management skills, just to create a system of training that should prepare leaders.
Can we think about this one for a minute?
It's permanent training, and approaches, system approaches.
It's for school leaders, not for school leaders.
As it sounds a little bit different to that one proposed.
Completely different.
Also close, but not the same.
We also believe that principals' job is profession, not position. So now we have campaign profession, not just a position. And here we believe there should be initial training, there should be continuous professional development, induction in between, of course, and recruitment and retention of good leaders is very important. As to keep the system healthy, we believe that it should be rotation. It should be a lively mechanism when principals can move to different levels. Here again, we can relate to the levels. So once you were a principal in the kindergarten, you can go move to school, try yourself here to gymnasium. Why not? And also the opportunity to work abroad, to go to be stagiaire, to get master degree, for example, like it's now the opportunity to do this is through the Erasmus Plus, when the Commission is doing this guarantee for students, so they can use take loans and just try to have master degree somewhere, because unfortunately in Lithuania we can't propose this training. So, but that should be profession. The principals should be professionals. As a trade union, I think that the biggest problem at the moment is then when teachers are promoted and become leaders, they're not ready to get this position. And rather to take their job seriously, they take themselves very seriously. So, another our campaigners, take your job, not yourself, seriously.
And I have an illustration of it. You should appreciate that, because I've never drawn anything. I don't know how to do it. But it will be our picture of leaders in school. I was very much inspired by our colleague who came from business world. So it would be to your reflecting on your sentence. Don't take yourself seriously. We shouldn't take ourselves very seriously, but the things we are doing are very serious.
Okay, so I think we've actually got a number of different points. Aurimas, do you want to just clarify?
Just how it sounds that first of all, this is profession, and this is a system how that profession could professional could move through various stages and that sounds a little bit also different, and we would state close but not the same, okay? And where is that person? Okay. It's here, yeah? And that one, yeah?
Did you give it a heart then? You put a heart in there. You feel it should have a heart.
Okay, just before we move on, can I say that we had one there about standards. Did anybody else, any of the other tables, Colleen? Okay, we'll come back.
Yeah, this stems from some work I've actually been doing in Lithuania for them, but I did an analysis of over 20 countries of their standards for school leaders. And believe it or not, they are very similar across the world. So I don't think it's far removed for the EU to come up with a set of standards, benchmark, competencies, whatever you wish to call them, but once they're defined, that the country then contextualizes them for their country. Because having done that activity and working in Lithuania, we then looked at the Lithuanian schools and said, what do you want your schools to look like? Therefore, what do you want your leaders to do? And that's how they then came to their set of standards. But I do believe that the EU can come up with a set of common and core standards.
So I think that one definitely goes beside the one that came from the table in the middle. And I think the key point that I was hearing Colleen make there, that this is not about a prescribed set of standards, but about a framework that would then enable the countries across Europe contextualize it for their own areas. Yes? Okay. Now, this table had something similar on standards.
Okay, so we came up with an idea of a leader profile. So that's more or less the same thing, actually, having some standards for leaders to define actually what a leader is, and then we know how to what we need to develop actually.
And yesterday in one of our groups we were hearing about the importance of shared mission, and perhaps that discussion about the values and the mission is something that could be discussed within the school. Okay, anything else on standards or frameworks? No? We'll go for a new one.
Well, it's not so new, because this group behind there already raised the topic, and this idea we discussed here on our table is linked somehow to your ideas. Permanent professional development at the level of teachers is the basis from where new leaders are coming up. So it's a method or possibility for recruitment of teacher leaders, and it gives professional mobility and the chance to be happy in the job, and not only prepared for labor market, but involved in the professional performance and happy with that what I am doing. So the idea is to be fit for labor market, but to be fit for happiness.
Okay.
And okay, just a minute. We have permanent training design and professional career, let's say, system. You would
Goes in the middle.
in the middle, yeah? Is that right? Okay.
You might have to move that one around.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
I have two connections, again, from this table related to the professionalization aspect and the continuous professional development aspect. And here, then, we've written CPD not à la carte, because very often there are situations where, people are asked, well, you just choose whatever you'd like to do, sort of thing. And but based on the real needs and with highly experienced professionals providing the training, there are very many examples where you have sorcerers, apprentices who provide training. So that we would actually like to insist on this as a recommendation. And related to something that our colleague here from the trade unions was saying before, which is, however, a way to implement also CPD, and related to what you were also saying about, you know, mobility, periods of work shadowing, placement in enterprises, NGOs, you know, administration every few years should almost be mandatory for school leaders, and I would say also for teachers. Brief periods, like, you know, even just a few days, but I think they would really be mandatory. It should be mandatory. So as part of CPD, that's one. And again, in order to avoid stagnation, okay, another idea that we were saying is not just a clear recruitment and retention policies, you know, for, but besides retention, in order to make, you know, school leaders feel they're not trapped, okay, we would also say, what about flexible pathway opportunities for school leaders into other professions? Okay, so you can have a way to see your career as something not stagnating and not just fixed. You may want to be a school leader, for 10 years or something, then maybe you'd like to move on. So we would see it not just into profession, but also out of it.
Okay, so we heard a very important range of points there. The first one, very clearly about the quality of the professional development for leaders. Just as we are expecting that the teachers in schools really understand the individual learning needs of the pupils that they work with, then equally we have to understand better the individual needs of our school leader and then match the professional learning to those needs, rather than this notion of here is a pick-off list and we'll just take one of these and it may or may not be relevant to my learning needs. So that was the first point. And the second one linked to the point that was made at the table over here about having opportunities to link in to leaders across either the public sector or into industry. And I think the final point linked in with Beatrice's point about there has to be a career progression path, that once you've been a school leader for 10 years, 15 years, there has to be a sense of how you refresh your sense of what being a leader actually means. So I think 3 different but important points, but we seem to have got them all on 2 posters perhaps?
Yeah, but they're connected, they're interconnected.
Okay, we discussed a lot about how to help the school leader to prepare children and teachers to educate for life. And we decided the first step may be to improve national curriculum in order to make more space for school leader and for all school community to recognize, to share this real life around school. If we talk about labor market, if we talk about some things who happen near school, we need more free or more modern curriculum with space where can leader and community to make decisions themselves.
I think the curriculum one is linked to the redefining education and giving us more autonomy around the curriculum. So moving away generally from that prescribed curriculum where we move through it almost like a technician, as opposed to having the freedom to facilitate and collaborate and construct a curriculum that's relevant. Is that the point? Yes. Okay, we'll stick with this table.
And we have a very concrete suggestion to establish a program on a national level with a clear goal to improve school leadership, with setting goals, objectives, indicators for results, for measuring results, allocate and necessary financing, and etc.
Okay. Again, I think that links into the framework aspect of having very clear expectations for our school leaders, and also again just picking up Beatrice's point that she was saying at the policy level, having that emphasis on improving school leaders. So I think both of those things I heard in what you said there. Okay, I'm still seeing some papers sitting on the tables. So again, has anyone got something that's different that hasn't been mentioned yet?
Well, it isn't exactly different from the others. Based on the presentation today, we found some tasks that a leader is supposed to handle, such as evaluation, pedagogical leadership, team leadership, strategic leadership, etc.
Okay, so can we put that with the framework again, setting out clearly the kinds of
Yeah,
tasks?
but it's also in the frame of lifelong learning.
Okay, so a bit of in the middle between career-long professional learning for school leaders and also the framework.
We thought we talked a lot about open minds and open hearts, but our table will think that schools found the right to divide between state, municipality, and enterprises. It's also a good idea how we solve for example, in that system in Lithuania, we solve teachers' training problems in that way, because enterprises now are open for teachers' training, for state-of-the-art technologies, and so I think that key competences will be also more much better than it is, for example, being in one environment just at school.
Is that one with the career-long professional learning?
Yeah.
Yes.
We think that mobility was already mentioned, but we have to add that the leaders should have the possibilities, various possibilities for mobility, and we mean the exchange of best practices, sharing experiences, and so on.
Our last sheet is very important to monitoring the work of the school leaders by different stakeholders like central government, the local municipality, the parents, and the students. Without permanent monitoring, if we put the goals and not control the job and the work of the school leaders, it won't be result in a good school life.
I think this is a very interesting point, because actually different stakeholders may have very different views about what makes for a good school leader. Because if you can imagine, the parents in the local context might have one view about what makes for a good school leader, the local municipality might have another, and the national might have another. So even sharing exactly what is meant by a good school leader is an important point. So I think, can we put that as a different point?
Accountability, actually.
Yes, accountability.
Hello. I might not be very popular here by saying that. We talked a lot about personalization of teaching, and at the same time I hear a lot of things about standardization of leaders. I do really doubt that if we set certain standards for what the leader should look like, and if we have all similar leaders, that we will have really different personalities at schools. The schools are very different, the communities are very different, and at the same time the countries are very different. So do we really will have, let's say, in the future, the same paradigm of the principle as it is now? Imagine the school without the principle itself. Maybe the self-organization process is so strong that the natural leader will come from the finance, natural leader education, etc. So I believe that in the future, apart from that, what we have certain or current principles, and we would like them to change and be the leaders. I believe that we have to talk about the paradigm of the principal and the leader in the future. Will it be the same, or the role of the position will change somehow?
Okay, something to think about in terms of how you manage perhaps a distributed leadership approach, where different leaders actually have particular strengths and they bring them to the school.
I just want to clarify, would you like to go with those one who said already that, let's say, to go through the sectors or intersection of various, let's say, businesses, or it's absolutely, let's say, unique idea that to change paradigm? Can to this? How do you look at it? Okay, yeah, please.
I think it's a bit different.
Okay.
Why? Because now how we imagine the school leader or the principal is the very last person that we can manage from the top.
Okay.
But do we really need that person as such, or do we somehow see it different in the future?
Bottom up approach.
It's the opposite from the notion that we heard from Michael Schratz about the conductor. It's necessary to have the conductor to manage. So it's the opposite paradigm of that you're suggesting. Okay, we have one more here.
I think also to at national and European level to create professional learning community for leaders, network, but also project, and maybe also to encourage countries to participate to the European policy network on school leadership, for example.
So I think that's a point of communication, because obviously at the European level there is the network, but I think there's some 16 countries involved in the network at the moment, so perhaps there isn't enough communication about the opportunities for school leaders to network. Okay, we've got 2 papers left at this table, and then I think we've collected all your ideas.
Okay, so this is very similar to what other people have said, but we have a change of emphasis in what we wanted, because we want to pick up on something that Beatrice said at the very end about leadership, not leaders. So pervading through all that we've been saying, we would like to see learning for leadership at all levels, and that to be an EU focus. And that's both internal in schools, from the leader to the middle leaders, subject leaders, but externally in terms of municipalities and governments and governance, in terms of their learning about leadership too.
Thank you, Colleen. And one more.
And our last paper is about global approach. We were discussing that it's very important to be able for principals of schools to see the world in global picture, and that we should think about that in the stage when they will come to the school to manage school, in preparation stage, and also for students to be ready for global life, that it should be school principals' focus to be able to help students to get this global life understanding. And 2 points related to global approach, that long-term goals versus short-term goals should be in the focus, and also about network you mentioned, that network help to keep this global approach live.
So linking very much to the network that we've heard from several tables.
Network, okay.
So now we come to the hard part, where you've got to use your voting stickers, and I'll hand over to Aurimas just to explain the process for the last time.
Okay. Just to remind what you already learned, we have now several groups, and I would like to pay attention to what kind of groups we see here. Starting from the left, changing of paradigm from leadership, from leader to leadership, and to think about changing the idea of the leader. The second one is, let's call it networking. The third one, we call it to redefine education, a holistic approach, going not to just, let's say, training, but educating in the broadest sense, the third one. The fourth one is standards and framework for leaders, the fourth one. Fifth one is career path, let's say. Sixth one is training system, and the seventh is monitoring and accountability. We have 7 choices. Out of 7 choices, you need to make, you have 3 choices, and up to you to decide. All 3 votes goes to one, either 2 for 1, 1 for 1, and another one, 3 different your choices. Please, go ahead.
participation. It's really a good opportunity to hear all of the different perspectives from across a number of countries. I think it's been a really well-organised opportunity for us to work in parallel sessions. I've been at some of the other European presidency conferences, and I think that I've found this process of enabling people from around the tables not only to share amongst their colleagues sitting at the table, but to have the opportunity to be actually very transparent. And thank you to all of you who've been prepared to do that and put your thoughts up on the wall and then to vote for them. So I think the voting is now complete.
Yes. And the winner is
New one.
yes. Path, professional path in various ways, in a sense that this is not position but profession, and to have opportunities to work via sectors. The second place is to change or to redefine education into to the point of view that it is education, not training and preparation. And the third place is changing approach to leadership itself. In a sense, we are not fostering or developing leaders, but we are actually educating ourselves in order to be in a leadership, let's say, environment. That's 3 our choices. Now for you is now delivered already 18 proposals which were made yesterday. Now we just finished the 9 suggestions, and we now to a little bit not change but arrange in, let's say, a voting system. Out of 3 choices which you have chosen already will be on the voting machine. Okay, now enjoy your coffee, half an hour, and we'll do preparation. Thank you all.
Thank you.